Well, the state government may have reinstated permits to allow farmers to shoot bats on their properties, but it's not proving to be an ideal solution, either for landowners or conservationists. The permits to shoot come with strict conditions, and only a handful have been granted. But as Kathy McLeish reports, there are calls from farmers and bat lovers for more research to protect both sides.
Trish Wimberley runs the Australian Bat Clinic in the Gold Coast hinterland. If they're lucky, injured flying foxes get a second chance here.
This little boy's got a fracture and he's had it pinned, and hopefully he'll be able to fly again.
As their habitat is lost to development, more and more are turning up in urban areas.
This is our quiet season and we're getting in up to 5-6 bats a day, which equates to about 30-35 bats a week. They are very, very much under pressure.
These little creatures evoke strong emotions. Love them.
How often are you seeing bats come in with malnutrition?
Oh, every day.
Or hate them.
Flying foxes are no cuddly, furry mammal that people can enjoy and pat. You know, they are a vermin.
It's been a huge challenge. It's been there for nearly 100 years if you go and have a look at the history of the bat problems, but they seem to have got much worse in the last few years.
The state government has reinstated damage mitigation permits, or DMPs, to allow farmers to shoot the creatures.
Scientists say bats are a successful species. They've existed in their current form for around 40 million years, but now they're under pressure. And two of the bats that can now be culled are on the threatened species register. The spectacled and grey-headed bats are listed as vulnerable. The grey-headed bat could be extinct in as little as 60 years, but conservationists fear that now they can be shot, that could be reduced to as soon as 10 years.
All you're really doing is pushing them on the road to faster extinction. We should be valuing learning more and understanding our native animals, particularly these environmentally critical ones like the flying fox, than persecuting them for reasons that make absolutely no sense at all.
Those against the shooting option say just a few years ago the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee concluded that the practice was inhumane. Vet John Hanger is the former manager of the RSPCA's wildlife operations.
Their brains are around about not much bigger than your thumb, and they're a moving target, and really you can't achieve a humane death unless you get an immediate destruction of the brain. And I gave advice that there simply wasn't enough evidence that people could reliably shoot flying foxes humanely, and therefore it's cruel.
Like the bat conservationists, he fears the DMPs will trigger a free-for-all.
It's inevitable that there's going to be, I think, a large-scale cruelty, and really it does send a message now that it's okay to kill bats if they're bothering you, and that will result in cruelty.
Farmers say they've been left in a no-win position, and it's almost impossible to meet the standards for a shooting permit.
Well, one of the growers here who's doing it a bit tough went to get a permit, and the rules for the permit were such that he had to show he'd put netting in, had to show he had a couple of 1,000 watts of lighting in his orchard. Couldn't afford to do that, so his returns were about 15% of what they normally were, with losses from bats.
A working group established to research alternative control methods found that nets worked best.
Orchards are easy targets for hungry bats. And look, there's no way around it. The most effective way of protecting crops is to net them. I mean, simply shooting a few bats, it might make a farmer feel better, it might make him feel like he's got his own back on the bats, but it's really not effective at protecting crops.
But netting is not a realistic option for all growers because they're very expensive and cannot be insured. John Bishop is a fig producer and chairman of GrowCom, the peak horticulture body.
Probably a third of my orchard it's too steep to net, and I am going to bring the netters back and ask for quotes on how we do it. The returns, depending on the crop, will be between 4.5 years and 18.5 years, and I think mine's up nearly 18.5 years. And since I'm not far off 68, I don't think an 18-year return project's on the agenda.
Conservationists and the growers do agree more research is needed.
Even if you don't like bats, there's a recognition that they're critical in forest ecosystem health, and I feel like we've taken a step back 20 years.
Don't want to shoot all the bats in the world anyway.
Kathy McLeish reporting. And that's the program for now. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, if you'd like to watch any of our stories again, they'll be on our website. You can also follow us on Twitter. Enjoy your weekend.